Stop asking for permission from our rulers and just take action. This week, we talk about a 12-year-old boy who did just that. What's in the news with stories on Bad Boys x2, gun magazines in Cali, DEA spying, U.S. kills more civilians, and armed citizens' successes. And an Ask Me Anything, where I answer your questions on my current job situation, scamming gun buybacks, animal hybrid rights, collapsitarianism, and greenhouses. This episode is brought to you by NordVPN, the easiest, cheapest, and fastest way to get secure and private access to the internet that I've ever seen, and I use it every single day. Also brought to you by Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom, helping you to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before, for just 24 cents a day.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state with the highest percentage of preppers in the country, according to modernsurvivalblog.com, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at TheLavaFlowPod. This is episode 126, Stop Asking Permission. And it's Tuesday, April 9th, 2019, when there have already been more than 254 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at more than $22,188,300,000,000 in debt. What's rustling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. One thing that I strongly believe in, if you've ever listened to this show, you know it, it's civil disobedience. It's an age-old practice of telling our rulers to fuck off without using violence. It's worked in many cases. Just ask Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Another thing I strongly believe in is to stop asking for permission. I don't go seeking areas where I need my ruler's permission to do things. If I decide to build something on my property, I'm probably not going to go pull a permit on it. Another example is dog licenses. We have a dog that was not licensed. I knew when we moved into our town that the town required a dog license, but we didn't register her at all. It's none of the town's fucking business if I own a dog. However, we had to take the dog to the vet, and apparently the vets in New Hampshire are fucking narcs, so they told the town that we had a dog. The town started sending armed thugs with badges to our door with a summons for my wife. I would always answer the door and tell them that she was not at home. Eventually, though, at some point, several months later, they showed up and I wasn't home, but she was. They gave her the summons, which was essentially a $25 fine, and then we had to pay the $10 dog license. Considering we lived here for 2 years before we had to pay anything, we came out about $5 behind on the fine. Big deal. But we didn't ask for permission. We capitulated under the force of threat, literally armed men at our door, to the license. But they had to use the threat of violence to get us to capitulate. Yes, I know this is a small thing, but it matters. Why? Because we were able to have a conversation with the town about the unfairness and ridiculousness of the threat of force being used to force us to comply with a stupid, unnecessary law. We also had the opportunity to talk to the cops about it, who, frankly, hated being tasked with doggy duty. Now, you guys know I am no fan of cops, and I have no doubt that if my wife shut the door in the cops' faces, they would have busted in and performed actual violence over a $10 dog license. But that doesn't change the fact that the cops had no concern about such a stupid law or wanted to be doing that particular duty. They were required to by our rulers. And that certainly doesn't make it right, of course. Now, in that frame of mind, a 12-year-old Michigan boy has done his bit of civil disobedience and has told the town of Muskegon Heights to fuck off by not asking for permission. He's taken it upon himself to fix the roads. Yes, he has taken the job into his own hands to fill in potholes, massive fucking ruts in the government roads, all by himself and without asking for permission. He dons his superhero outfit, a red and orange hoodie, grabs a shovel and a garbage can, fills it with dirt, hauls it to the massive potholes, and fills them with the dirt. His school had a half day, so instead of going home for the other half day and chilling with some TV, he took the roads into his own hands. He's since filled up about 15 potholes near his family's home and hopes to finish the rest of the street. This is what a hero looks like, folks. Muskegon Heights Mayor Kimberly Sims said that she was touched to hear about Scott's efforts and inspired. However, Sims said it was bittersweet to see Scott take charge because the problem is so bad that he feels he has to do that. No shit, lady, but who owns these roads? You and the other rulers in that town do. Sims said, "We have a constant issue of potholes," adding that Muskegon Heights crews are small but are working to address issues daily. This winter hit the city's roads particularly hard, she said. She also said, "I commend the young man's efforts. He's 12. He should be getting ready for school the next day or playing video games." Yeah, he should. But your incompetence and the incompetence of the rest of the rulers in that town nixed that in the bud, didn't it? Tronell Scott, the boy's mother, said he didn't tell anybody that he was planning on doing this, and she found out about it herself when her niece texted her that a video taken by a passerby was on Facebook and was going viral. In other words, he didn't ask for permission from anybody, nor did he seek approval or kudos. The kid saw a problem, and he fixed it. This is anarchy. But what was the problem that he was trying to solve? Was it community spirit that brought him to do this? Of course not, even though the mayor would tell you otherwise and say that she was doing it for the community. That was her own words. The boy, Monte Scott, said he did it because he didn't want his mom and his grandmother to mess up their cars on the shitty government roads. As you know, if your car gets screwed up because of potholes, the city isn't responsible for that. They're not going to pay to fix your car. You do. His mother already had to get her car fixed once because of that road, so he wanted to save his mother, who lives in a very impoverished area, to have to worry about finding money to fix her car again. He did this out of self-preservation and out of love for his highest values, his mother and his grandmother. God damn it, I just love this kid. So I challenge you to be like Monty Scott. Do a little bit of civil disobedience. And for Spooner's sake, stop asking for permission from your rulers. If you see a problem that you can solve, solve it. It is far better to ask for forgiveness than permission from our rulers. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In Bad Boys news, a dad was arrested for breaking traffic laws while rushing his daughter to the hospital, and the nurses at the hospital bonded him out of jail. Darius Hinkle admitted he does not have a valid driver's license and said he was speeding on the way to the hospital on Thursday, but said he did it because his 1-year-old daughter was choking on a penny. Hinkle said, "The first thing in my mind was to get her to a hospital." And of course it was. It was a goddamned emergency situation. Hinkle said by the time he arrived at the hospital, more than a handful of police officers with different agencies were behind him. Hinkle said he was taken into custody once he arrived at the hospital. The 1-year-old's mother said she arrived at the jail when a woman she didn't recognize was there to bond Hinkle out. That's when she learned a group of nurses chipped in money to bond the father out. Hinkle said, "I can't thank them enough." Look, if you are more concerned about locking someone up in jail for a non-violent, victimless crime than you are about the life of a 1-year-old girl choking, then you just might be a cop. In more Bad Boys news, an officer accused of giving a homeless man a feces sandwich wins an appeal. A San Antonio police officer fired in October of 2016 after he allegedly gave a homeless man a sandwich with dog feces had his dismissal overturned by an arbitrator earlier this month. Bike Patrol Officer Matthew Luckhurst won his appeal due to a provision in the local government code that prevents law enforcement from disciplining an officer for conduct that occurred more than 180 days before they're disciplined. Arbitration documents state that Luckhurst himself testified that the incident occurred on May 6, 2016, when he and two other officers on bike patrol were clearing transients from a parking lot. Luckhurst was subsequently notified of his dismissal on October 28, 2016, within the 180-day window if the incident occurred, as Luckhurst said, on May 6, 2016. Arbitration documents state that later, Luckhurst reviewed his medical records and found that the incident could not have occurred on May 6th, because he had injured himself during a martial arts class and was on light duty from April 6, 2016 to June 14, 2016, preventing him from riding a bike, as his peers had testified. The paperwork states that after interviewing witnesses and others who had heard about the incident, all of whom gave varying dates, it was determined that the incident may have occurred outside the 180-day window to discipline Luckhurst, effectively avoiding his dismissal. As the officers asked the individuals to leave the area, which was marked with no trespassing signs, Luckhurst said he noticed dog feces, condoms, vomit, personal hygiene products, and a discarded slice of bread. He said he grabbed the dog feces with a piece of bread to avoid stepping on it, and placed the feces wrapped in the bread into a nearby food container, which he said he viewed as trash. Bullshit. But, he said, he left the container in close proximity to a transient who did not clear the area, and that the person picked up the container containing the feces and threw it on the ground after smelling it. Another bike patrol officer who was on patrol with Luckhurst told him, "You can't be doing that. You have to go pick that up." The officer told authorities Luckhurst biked back to the area, returned, and said he had disposed of the container. The arbitrator overturned Luckhurst's indefinite suspension due to a violation of the 180-day provision, noting that internal affairs investigators had the ability to corroborate testimony by means of having the videotape preserved and reviewed, but did not. So here we have a cop, essentially giving a man a shit sandwich for real, and because of some bullshit arbitrary rule, he gets off scot-free. These are our rulers, folks. Fuck this pig in the neck with a shit sandwich. Are you looking for a way to protect your online presence quickly, easily, and inexpensively while still surfing the net with high speed? Well, NordVPN is the best way that I've ever found to do just that. With over 2,500 servers worldwide, they cover every continent except Antarctica. But, as they say, that's only because penguins just don't get the internet. They also offer double data encryption, which encrypts data not once, but twice. And they never log what you do and where you go on the internet. Also, NordVPN is fast, the fastest VPN service that I've ever used. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, so you can protect all of your traffic from all of your devices with NordVPN. Starting as low as $3.29 per month, they're also inexpensive, and they take Bitcoin too. With NordVPN, you can securely access any website from anywhere around the world, safely share files via P2P networks, and enjoy the fastest VPN experience without compromising your online security and privacy. Get signed up for the VPN service that I personally use every time I hit the internet at thelavaflow.com/VPN. Again, that's thelavaflow.com/VPN. In The State Giveth and the State Taketh Away news, a federal judge tossed out California's ban on high-capacity firearms magazines, only to have it reinstated by the same judge a week later. The first story said that high-capacity gun magazines will remain legal in California under a ruling by a federal judge who cited home invasions where a woman used the extra bullets in her weapon to kill an attacker, while in two other cases, women without additional ammunition ran out of bullets. San Diego-based U.S. District Judge Roger Benitez wrote as he declared unconstitutional the law that would have banned possessing any magazines holding more than 10 bullets. Individual liberty and freedom are not outmoded concepts. We'll see about that. California law has prohibited buying or selling such magazines since 2000, but those who had them before were allowed to keep them. In 2016, the legislature and voters approved a law removing that provision. The California arm of the National Rifle Association sued, and Benitez sided with the group's argument that banning the magazines infringes on the Second Amendment right to bear arms. So, as you can imagine, every gun store in California went on a frenzy to get in as many high-cap magazines as possible and get them in the hands of people. Magpul, who makes my favorite AR-15 magazine, the PMag, sent everything they had to California. A friend of mine who owns a gun store in Cali spent the entire week getting in mags and selling them as quickly as possible. And it's a good thing he did, because a week later, the law was reinstated. In response to a motion from the California Department of Justice, U.S. District Court Judge Roger Benitez, who had previously issued the permanent injunction against enforcement of California's high-capacity magazine ban, issued a stay of his own injunction. That order went into effect on Friday, April 5th. The ban on possession of high-capacity magazines will not be enforced while the case is argued and decided, so anyone who bought one last week will be able to keep them, for now. It's clear that this judge bowed to pressure instead of standing up for the right thing. So much for his quote about individual liberty and freedom. Unfit to exist, folks. Unfit to fucking exist. In Big Brother news, the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, secretly collected data in bulk about Americans' purchases of money-counting machines and took steps to hide the effort from defendants and courts, before quietly shuttering the program in 2013 amid the uproar over the disclosures by the NSA contractor Edward Snowden. And this is yet another reason why Edward Snowden is a hero. Seeking leads about who might be a drug trafficker, the DEA started in 2008 to issue blanket administrative subpoenas to vendors to learn who was buying money counters. The subpoenas involved no court oversight and were not pegged to any particular investigation. The agency collected tens of thousands of records showing the names and addresses of people who bought the devices. The public version of the report, which portrayed the program as legally questionable, blacked out the device whose purchase the DEA had tracked. But in a slip-up, of course, the report contained one uncensored reference in a section about how DEA policy called for withholding from official case files the fact that agents first learned the names of suspects from its database of its money counter purchases. That instruction, it said, was intended to protect the program's sources and methods. Criminals would obtain money counters by other means if they knew that the DEA collected this data. Of course they would. The report cited field offices' complaints that the program had wasted time with a high volume of low-quality leads, resulting in agents scrutinizing people without any connection to illicit activity. And of course it did. I mean, these things are used by all kinds of people and all kinds of businesses. But the DEA eventually refined its analysis to produce fewer but higher quality leads, and the DEA said it had led to arrests and seizures of drugs, guns, cars, and illicit cash. So basically, they committed legal theft. In the spring of 2013, the report said the DEA submitted its database to a joint operations hub, where law enforcement agencies working together on organized crime and drug enforcement could mine it. But FBI agents questioned whether the data had been lawfully acquired, and the Bureau banned its officials from gaining access to it. The FBI agents explained that running all of these names, which had been collected without foundation, through a massive government database and producing comprehensive intelligence products on any hits, which included detailed information on family members and pictures, didn't sit right with the Bureau, the report said. So even the fucking feds knew that this was illegal and bullshit, and the DEA continued with it until Snowden. What the actual fuck? I mean, guys, they are watching everything you're doing, period. This is why it is vitally important to use encrypted technology and tools like Tails OS and Tor and Signal and Wire and Telegram. I know for a fact you can purchase money counters through the dark web using Tor, and you can do that without any scrutiny if you do it right. Be safe out there, folks. Guys, you know Tom Woods. You know his books. You know his podcast. Now learn what he learned to get where he is today in Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. Get the equivalent of a PhD in libertarian thought and free market economics online for just 24 cents a day while sitting at your computer or driving in your car. You can get it now at thelavaflow.com/woods. Listening to the audios and watching the videos will load you up with the facts, figures, and other ammunition that you need to feel supremely confident and come out on top when arguing politics or economics with yet another devoted socialist or neoconservative. But I repeat myself. Get a yearly membership to Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom for only $89 a year. Or like me, go for the masterclass for lifetime access for only $497 and get tons of bonus material as well, including monthly live sessions with Liberty Classroom faculty and 435 audio-video lessons on government and history that Tom created specifically for the Ron Paul curriculum, worth $250 alone. Make sure to sign up today at thelavaflow.com/woods to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before. In collateral damage news, an alleged Afghan Taliban insider attack in the Kunduz province has led to a much larger incident in which U.S. airstrikes tore through civilian homes nearby, killing at least 14 civilians, overwhelmingly women and children. A joint U.S.-Afghan convoy ran afoul of fighters at a military checkpoint. A U.S. vehicle broke down near the checkpoint, and when the troops got out, one of the soldiers at the checkpoint opened fire. Afghan officials say the soldier was a Taliban infiltrator. Either way, he started a protracted exchange of fire. At this point, the U.S. forces did what they always do. They called in air support. At that point, U.S. warplanes attacked what the Pentagon is describing as a Taliban base, but which could be more accurately described as a cluster of nearby homes. 14 civilians were killed, mostly women and children. U.S. officials defended the incident, claiming the troops on the ground detected fire from that direction and accusing the Taliban of hiding within the homes. It is unclear if any Taliban were involved in the airstrike or involved at all beyond the claim of a single infiltrator. For U.S. and Afghan forces to get into an unrelated firefight on their own is, of course, not unusual. Sergeant First Class Deborah Richardson, a military spokesman, said, "We are fighting in a complex environment, and this firefight is a prime example of the challenges Afghan and coalition forces face every day. The Taliban were hiding in civilian homes and maneuvered in and out of the compounds without any concern for the families living inside." And yes, she's correct here. The Taliban running through civilian areas does show a lack of concern for civilians. But what the fuck does she suppose that dropping bombs on civilian homes shows? Sergeant Richardson's confirmed that the American military was aware of reports of non-combatant casualty claims from those airstrikes. However, she added, "We maintain the right to engage the enemy in self-defense, and we take every measure to prevent civilian casualties, even as the Taliban intentionally hide behind women and children." Self-defense? What the actual fuck? Bombing men who are not actively attacking you, who are hiding in civilian areas, is not self-defense. It is the murder of civilians, you fucking fuck. In the More You Know news, an FBI report shows that armed citizens see a 94% success rate during active shooter incidents. The website concealedcarry.com recently put together some nice infographics that show statistical data released in an FBI report on active shooter events. In a nutshell, of the 283 total incidents in an 18-year period, an armed citizen was present at 33 of those, just shy of 12%. Of those 33 incidents where an armed citizen was present, they were able to stop the incident from continuing 75.8% of the time, and additionally were successful in reducing the number of lives lost 18.2% of the time. Also, of these incidents, there were 0 times when an armed citizen injured or killed an innocent person. Hell, that's a much better success rate than even cops have, and these guys are supposed to be trained. The mentioned infographic is really cool to see and goes into much more detail. 94% success rate is incredible. You can find that infographic by going to the show notes for this episode at thelavaflow.com/126. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
Ask me anything. Roger will answer your questions about, well, anything. Do you have a question for Roger? Email AMA@thelavaflow.com or add your question to the latest AMA thread in the Pax Libertas Productions Facebook group.
It's that time again. I'm going to answer your questions. Remember, you can ask me your questions by adding it to the thread I post in the Pax Libertas Productions Podcast Fans Facebook group, or by emailing me at the ama@thelavaflow.com. Or, if you're awesome as fuck and you support this show, you can ask me your question in the Lava Flow Super Supporters Facebook group or in Patreon. So, let's jump right into these questions. First, from big-time supporter of the show, Ryan P. of Gunfighter Tactical. He asks, "Hey Roger, how are things going for you and the family since the layoff? Are you actively seeking work outside the home, or are you focusing on building the podcast and audiobook business?" Thanks so much for asking, Ryan. Things have been good since the layoff. I now work at home side by side with my working-at-home wife and my homeschooled boys, which is a fucking dream come true. I often stop in the middle of the day to watch Star Wars with my boys or to just goof off with them. You know, it's funny, when we first started this journey after the layoff, I thought my wife and I would never be able to be around each other 24/7 without killing each other. But I tell you, our relationship is stronger than it's ever been, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. Now, I am working more hours overall because I am having to use several different projects to do a bit better than break even. But it is worth it, and like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Between landing a really good IT contract that allows me to work from home on a very exciting project, podcasting and audiobooks and other ventures, I stay pretty busy. Now, I'm not making as much money as I was, but it's kind of hard to replace that salary that I was making. But like I said, we are at least breaking even, and this lifestyle is so much better for me and my family that it is totally worth it. Now, that isn't to say, though, that I wouldn't take on some additional work if the right opportunity presented itself. If anyone has any voiceover or IT work that they would like to throw my way, please do so. You can email me at roger@thelavaflow.com if you have something like that. Also, we have a fully furnished apartment open to rent out as well if anybody's interested in making the move to New Hampshire to find liberty in your lifetime. Ryan, thank you so much for the question and for your concern. It really means a lot, man. The next question comes from supporter John A., who asks, "What are your thoughts on scamming gun buybacks? For instance, manufacturing cheap firearms and selling them to the state for a profit. Second question, do human-animal hybrids have rights? Alex Jones brought this up on the Joe Rogan Experience, stating that the government does not recognize them as humans and therefore have no rights. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this." First of all, I think scamming gun buybacks is a great form of civil disobedience, and I support it 110%. Thankfully, I live in a state that cherishes the right to keep and bear arms, so I don't have the opportunity to do so. But if I could, I would in a heartbeat. But I don't really have a good answer to your human-animal hybrid question. I mean, to me, rights come down to the ability to rationally reason and not just instinctual behavior. If a species has the ability to reason, then your species should have rights, period. As of right now, the only animal we know of that reasons rationally is the human species. If some hybrid species or even an alien species can show this ability, then I believe they deserve rights as well. Thanks for the question, John. Longtime supporter and really good friend of the show, Buddy P. asks, "With enough alternatives to FRNs and $22 trillion in federal government debt, do you think it might be time to not reject potential collapsitarian candidates like Andrew Yang?" You know, I'll admit I know next to nothing about collapsitarianism or Andrew Yang. The only thing I know about collapsitarianism is what I heard on the episode of Free Man Beyond the Wall, where Pete Raymond interviewed Skip, a Twitter collapsitarian. But looking quickly at Yang and his website, he's apparently for universal basic income, wants to fine companies that make robocalls, wants all health plans to be forced to pay for marriage counseling, wants Medicare for all, supports gun control, free financial counseling for all, early childhood education for all, paid family leave, and many, many other progressive ideas that will strengthen and empower our governmental rulers at the purveyance they have in our lives. Even if I could support a ruler over me, it would not be this ruler. But thanks for the question, buddy. I'm looking forward to seeing you in New Hampshire again soon. And finally, my last question this week comes from my wife and supporter of the show, Jessica Paxton, who asks, "When are you going to put up your wife's greenhouse? Huh? And yes, she did ask this legitimately in one of my AMA threads, so I have to answer it, damn it. The good news is that I'm writing this portion of the show on Sunday, about 2 hours before I'm going outside to do just that, putting up the greenhouse. So by the time this episode is recorded and airs, unless the Earth stops spinning or some other catastrophe happens, the greenhouse is already up, woman. Now leave me alone about it. In all seriousness, though, we are starting to build a bit of a homestead here in New Hampshire on our 2 acres. We have had laying chickens for a couple of years now and are adding a greenhouse this year with about 300 individual plants of 50 different types of plants. This year, we're also planning on expanding our chicken run so we can have even more chickens next year. And next year, we're likely going to add more plants and expand the greenhouse and hopefully find ways to expand our growing season here in the frigid north. We're also hoping to add either meat chickens or rabbits next spring to our homestead, but that's going to take some major convincing for our boys who both love animals so much, even though they both eat animals from the store. And then eventually we'd like to have goats as well for milk, butter, and so much more, and maybe even pigs. I mean, goddamn, I leave Arkansas for New Hampshire, and then I become a fucking farmer? What is wrong with me? But speaking of our little homestead, we have been struggling to come up with a name for our homestead, something that, really captures what Jessica and I are all about. So if you guys have any ideas for a name for our homestead, please let us know. You can email it to me at roger@thelavaflow.com. That's RODGER @thelavaflow.com. And if you come up with a winning name, I may send you some swag. Who knows? We'll see. Guys, thank you all so much for these questions. Even you, Jessica. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite greenhouse builder, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/126. I have no new subscribers this week, but longtime supporter Terry T increased her pledge from $2.50 per episode to a huge $5 per episode. Thank you so much, Terry, for your longtime support. It's so much appreciated. So thanks to Terry and all of my awesome supporters, I'm at $258.75 per episode, or 51.75% of the way towards my next goal of $500 per episode. Thank you for all the support, guys, really. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I will be upping the content that I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting today. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon, or monthly using Subscribestar, or using cryptocurrencies through Bitbacker. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. And this week I have 3 new Apple Podcast reviews. Neil Before Zod, son of Jor-El, said, "Great podcast. Thanks for being a light for liberty. Keep it up." Free Market Anarchist Gary said, "Straight to the point. No holds barred. Love this podcast. Roger tells the truth as you want it told. Freedom deserves no less a defender than this guy." And Pablo Honey Z said, "By far one of the best libertarian podcasts. I very much enjoy Roger's unique show. I hear things on this show that are not covered on other shows. It is concise, principled, informative, and entertaining. Highly recommended." Guys, wow. Thank you so much for all of those awesome reviews. I can't thank you enough for taking a couple of minutes and doing that for me. It really means a lot. You guys are awesome. And if you have a minute and you want to hear your review read right here on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root and stop asking for permission.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.